Hi, it's Nikki here from Happy Hormones for Life, and today I'm talking about something that's very, very debilitating for quite a few women and men, but particularly for women, migraines. Now, if you suffer from migraines, you don't need me to tell you how debilitating they can be. I hear it from the many women that I speak to who have to live with migraines on a daily basis or a regular basis. They are a type of intense headache with throbbing pain and often light or sound sensitivity. And they like to hang around. They can last from a few hours to days at a time. And the women tell me that I've not suffered one from one myself, but I do hear that you literally can't do anything else but lie in a dark room. It must be horrific. And I know it's quite common. The last research that was undertaken back in 2003 actually estimated that there were around about 200,000 migraine attacks every day in England. 6 million people suffer from migraines in the UK, and this is quite old information, so there must be more now. With women being much more susceptible than men, especially in that 35 to 55 age group, when we've got a lot of other stuff going on, right? So, what are the common migraine triggers? Well, we've got a few. The migraines are very multifactorial, which means there's lots of different things that can contribute to them. So, the first area that I often see with women is hormones, obviously. They are associated with your monthly cycle, which actually may not be the underlying cause, but it may be a trigger each month because estrogen and progesterone, when they drop just before your period or during menopause, that can trigger the migraine. Often serotonin is another hormone that can be caused. Low levels can cause migraines. Serotonin helps with pain regulation. When you've got low levels, we often referred to as a serotonin migraine, then your pain tolerance does go down. So what causes low serotonin? Well, low estrogen, because our estrogen has a vital role in serotonin. So again, as we go through menopause, our serotonin levels can go down. Lack of daylight and vitamin D, which is another thing throughout the winter that we suffer from. Low protein intake, because we need tryptophan to make serotonin. Nutrient deficiencies like B6, zinc, magnesium, iron, calcium, folate, vitamin C, all these things are important for serotonin production. Digestive issues, because 90% of serotonin is produced in the gut. So if you've got poor gut health, that can affect your serotonin as well. Certain medications can have an impact. Hormone disrupting chemicals like BPA and pesticides and phthalates that I talk about all the time, they can act as these xenoestrogens and mess with the estrogen levels, and then that affects your serotonin and prolongs stress as well. So that's the sort of hormone impact. And then we've got inflammation. Any inflammation anywhere in the body can impact the brain. We can have menstrual induced inflammation because obviously when you bleed, your immune system releases prostaglandins, these inflammatory agents that are produced to kind of heal injury and bleeding. And they can cause those muscle contractions, which are the cramps that we feel when we are having a period. And this can increase inflammation in the whole body. So we've got inflammation coming from the gut, as we know. That can link directly to inflammation in the brain through the vagus nerve. The gut and the brain talk to each other all the time. There's a couple of main reasons for inflammation in the gut, and that can be in an underlying infection. So bacteria, yeast, fungus, viruses, parasites. This is your microbiome, and that microbial balance is absolutely vital to reduce inflammation. We could have food sensitivities. They can trigger migraines. So things like gluten, dairy, chocolate, caffeine, red wine, all the things that we like. Spicy foods, aged cheese is another one. Yeast extract, some additives or preservatives in food, so it's good to avoid those processed foods. Nitrates found in processed meats as well, and maybe foods that contain histamines or tyramine. You can look up those kind of foods as well, because often if you've got a sensitivity to that, that can be a trigger too. We can also have musculoskeletal inflammation caused by like injury or damage to muscle, bone or ligaments. We've also got stress. That's a major factor too. Now, cortisol your stress hormone can alter your neurotransmitter function. So that can increase tension, which can then trigger the migraines. And don't just think about the obvious stresses in your life, but we're thinking about, the internal stresses as well, that anything that can increase stress on the body. So even things like intensive exercise, illness, surgery, injury, menopause, health conditions, or any kind of internal imbalances, that is going to raise cortisol. And that can be a factor too. So we've got to manage the stress and make sure we're internally balanced. Lack of sleep is another factor with migraines. So too little, too much, or irregular patterns of sleep could be a trigger as well. Nutrient deficiencies, really important. Nutrients are key to the health of your brain and your nervous system. Things like magnesium, B vitamins, omega-3s, vitamin D, CoQ10, B12, vitamin E, and of course hydration, absolutely key. Dehydration's got to be ruled out for headaches and migraines. Make sure you're well hydrated. You've got the toxic toxins as well in the environment that can be that can trigger migraines and inflammation. Food and household chemicals can cause inflammation and oxidative stress. So, and genetics as well. So what do we do? What do we do about them? What can we do to improve symptoms of migraines? What are the natural approaches? Well, first of all, it's really useful to keep a diary so that you know when you have a migraine what might be triggering it. So it could be a mixture of all of those things, or it could be one or two. So it might be easy to identify, but keep a diary and notice any patterns. Include anti-inflammatory foods. You've got to have lots of antioxidants in your diet. So fruit and veg, lots of variety, herbs, spices, lots of healthy fats. It's going to help reduce the inflammation. And then avoid those potentially inflammatory foods like sugar, refined carbs, bad fats in terms of vegetable oils and things like that. Processed foods, and of course alcohol, because that could also be a trigger. We want to be including lots and lots of omega-3 fats from like oily fish. If you're a vegetarian or vegan, take a supplement with good levels of DHA and EPA. They are very anti-inflammatory, so they're going to keep a lid on that inflammation. Keep your blood sugar stable to balance insulin and cortisol. If you're estrogen dominant, you want to be supporting your liver with lots of cruciferous veg. Those are the broccolis and the cauliflowers and all of that stuff. And you may want to support your liver with as well with something like milk thistle. If you're low in estrogen, you want to try and include some phytoestrogens in your diet. Look up the blog on that, but you're talking about organic soy, flax seeds, chickpeas, lentils, that kind of stuff. You want to support your gut by eating some probiotic and prebiotic foods to feed those lovely good bacteria. Keep hydrated, avoid caffeine if it's a trigger as well for you. Manage your stress and get good sleep. I know that's easy to say, but if that's a problem for you, it could be a major trigger for your migraines. And of course, you can always get yourself tested to see if you have any hormone imbalances, gut issues, or nutrient deficiencies. Obviously, come and talk to us if you're interested in that. Supplements can be helpful. So a good multi to make sure that your base nutrients are getting in. But you want a really good multivitamin. I've talked about this before. Don't get the cheap stuff, because you want the active ingredients that will be actually absorbed by your body. And those lovely B vitamins and B6 really helps with your serotonin, so make sure you've got that in there. Omega-3s, like I said, EPA, DHA, fish oils, are really good for that inflammation. Vitamin D3 with K2, really useful together because the K2 helps the D3 work. And you should be on those from now on anyway, because we're heading towards winter and the sun has unfortunately gone. We've got vitamin C, very helpful too. Magnesium, these are my top 5 general ones anyway that you can find in my approved vitamin shop. CoQ10 can be very important too, really important for the production of energy, so getting that energy to the brain. And then turmeric or curcumin extract is quite useful for reducing inflammation as well. Check out my supplement recommendations at Approved Vitamins, and do check with your doctor if you're taking any new supplements, if you're on medication already or you have a health condition. Now, I know managing migraines can be a full-time task, but I hope you've got some things here that you can try. And if you do get to the root cause, you're going to have a better chance of getting rid of them once and for all. Again, contact us if you'd like to talk about any health issue. Do get in touch, and I'll see you next time. Take care.